Hi, my name is Alyssa Mendel, and I'm a project manager for Sanford Research based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, here in the United States. Today, I'm going to briefly touch on rare disease registries and the importance of them. So I'm sure most of you already know statistics about rare diseases, but I'm going to share a few quick ones. So roughly 400 million people globally suffer from a rare disease or a condition. 40% are misdiagnosed at least once, and there are said to be over 10,000 plus distinct types of rare and genetic diseases. It can also take over 6 years for a proper diagnosis. So, as you can see, it can take a while for someone to be properly diagnosed. And a lot of these conditions, there's no approved treatment for them. So, the impact is much greater on those who are impacted by rare diseases than what you would think when we're considering family, friends, and caregivers. So why this is important pertains to the topic that we're going to dive into today. So the big question is, what is a registry? So a patient registry is a collection of data captured regarding a group of patients. So this could be demographic information, diagnosis and genetic mutation. It could be symptoms, health information, quality of life information. This could be patient or clinician entered. A registry can serve to contact members of a group later, or it can serve to build up a story of the progression of a disease called its natural history. So, patient registries, so rare disease registries create awareness and drive research. So, you would collect data to inform researchers of the natural progression of a disease. Registries can assist in the recruitment of participants for clinical trials. Registries also enable the monitoring of clinical treatments or outcomes, and then also provide support for the establishment of disease-specific standards of care. So what are the types of registries? So there's a contact registry, which can help connect patients to clinical trials, usually established for future communication and potential study involvement. Being a part of a contact registry does not obligate a patient to participate in future clinical trials, though. Another type of registry is the natural history study, which again collects information about a disease from a patient and clinical perspective that can inform every stage of therapy development process. So this type of patient registry is going to collect detailed, standardized clinical and patient data over time to understand the progression and characteristics of a disease, particularly rare condition. So this is crucial information for informing drug development, designing clinical trials, identifying disease biomarkers, and improving standards of care by tracking symptoms, test results, and the real world impact of diseases on patients. So patient registries are based on the patient's actual experience and their current medical condition. So challenges with developing treatments and therapies. So there's a lack of scientific interest. So many rare diseases don't attract as much attention as more common conditions, which slows progress. It's difficult to secure funding in competition with with common diseases, excuse me. So funding for rare diseases is limited, making it harder to support the necessary research and development efforts. So the vast majority of healthcare resources directed toward more prevalent diseases. So rare diseases often struggle to compete for attention and funding. And then there's just a limited understanding of the mechanism. There's still much to learn about biological mechanisms behind many rare diseases. This can also hinder the development of targeted therapies. Then we have the limited opportunities to test candidate therapies. So due to smaller patient pools with rare diseases, which is often underpowered for conventional approaches, making it difficult to design and conduct large-scale clinical trials. And then, of course, limited natural history data. The lack of comprehensive data on disease progression and effective clinical scoring systems makes diagnosis and treatment evaluation difficult. So those are a few different challenges that come with developing treatments and therapies. So why are rare diseases, or why are rare disease registries important? So information is rare because conditions are individually rare. There's often limited data, few case studies, and minimal research available. Patients with rare diseases are individually rare, therefore little information is out there. Um, the scarcity of information becomes a central barrier for everyone involved in the care of patients with rare diseases. So patients and their families often face long and confusing journey to find answers. Physicians may never encounter a specific rare disease in their practice and may ask guidance on diagnosis or treatment. Genetic counselors, they have to navigate unclear genetic markers and inheritance patterns with minimal precedence over these rare diseases. And then researchers struggle to gather sufficient data and funding for meaningful studies. And lastly, patient advocates and organizations, they work tirelessly to fill in these information gaps, often becoming the main sources of support and knowledge for these rare conditions. A perfect example of this is the number of research articles available on PubMed. So take type 1 diabetes with over 100 some thousand different research articles. In contrast, rare diseases like boring opiate syndrome only have 73 articles out there. So increasing awareness and research publications can have a real impact. And that's what registries can do, can create awareness and drive the research. So when it comes to rare diseases, patients often become the experts by default. Patient registries and natural history studies can put an organization or disease on the map, attracting the attention of researchers. Interestingly, researchers often stumble upon rare disease research by chance. Sometimes there's no dedicated thought leader in the community to help guide the way. This is again why it's so important to be prepared and have a registry in place. So when an expert is finally found, advocacy groups will be ready with data to move the research forward. So here at Sanford Research, we have a rare disease registry called CoRDS. So at CoRDS, we take a patient-centered approach. We understand that in rare disease, many times patients and families are the experts. And in order to properly investigate a disease, researchers need to know a full understanding of the natural history. So out of these two ideas, Sanford Health, where I work at, has sponsored the development of the CoRDS registry. So the Coordination of Rare Diseases at Sanford, also known as CoRDS, is based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in the United States. So having an international registry like CoRDS is rare in itself, but crucial. So rare diseases benefit greatly from a global approach for several reasons, such as unifying efforts and data collection methods and increasing statistical significance of data. CoRDS, we tie together patients, advocacy groups, and researchers. CoRDS is going to also provide a mechanism for retrieval and dissemination of data, which is really important when having a registry. So unlike many other registries, as a Sanford Health sponsored initiative, CoRDS is made available at no cost to patients, advocacy groups, or researchers. So a little bit more about CoRDS. First and foremost, we are an international disease agnostic registry. So this means anybody from anywhere in the world can enroll in CoRDS. We are a platform for collecting standardized common data elements across all rare diseases. We are a program designed to encourage development of disease-specific registries and natural history studies. So who can enroll in CoRDS? So individuals with a rare or common disease or condition of unknown prevalence can enroll. Individuals who are undiagnosed, and then carriers, such as family members of someone with a rare genetic diagnosis. So how does CoRDS work? Anyone who enrolls in CoRDS will complete what's called the CoRDS Standard Questionnaire. Patients and their families can complete a questionnaire. Advocacy groups can compose disease-specific questionnaires about a specific disease, and then individuals can answer that questionnaire. Participants enroll in CoRDS by keeping their questionnaires and keeping their information up to date. And then, of course, researchers and clinicians can apply for access to the de-identifiable data in CoRDS. See, participants are the primary owners of the data because they control how the data is ultimately used. So when you enroll in CoRDS, you're going to dictate and govern how you want your information used. You can also remove yourself from the registry at any point in time. So CoRDS is going to store and manage information as required by Sanford Research's Institutional Review Board and other ethics and governing compliance committees. So CoRDS will never sell, rent, or lease personal information. Information in CoRDS remains there unless consent to share is provided by the participant. And CoRDS will contact you at least once a year to update any changes that may have occurred. And so people can enroll in CoRDS both online, through email, or through postal mail. So how is the data used? So researchers, they can petition and be approved by Sanford's Scientific Review Committee to receive de-identified patient data. Advocacy groups, they can use data for non-research purposes, such as education, grant applications, and other ways of educating the community, but only after a participant has given consent. And then researchers in pharma can also notify CoRDS of disease-specific clinical trials. CoRDS will then direct patients to the appropriate contact if interested in learning more about a clinical study. So new discoveries are made based on the information contained in the natural history of a disease. So patients own their stories, and by each individual sharing their story, scientists and doctors learn more about how to approach rare disease research and treatment. So it's so important for those with a rare condition to share what it's like to live with that condition. So as of September, so I know we're a couple months out of that, here are some updated metrics from the CoRDS registry. I should also add that CoRDS has been around for over a decade. So we are a long-standing, sustainable, free patient registry. So you can see we are in over 105 different countries across the globe. We have probably closer to 25,000 some participants in the registry, and we represent over 3,000 rare diseases, and then have partnered with about 130 different advocacy groups around the world. This slide shows just some, but not all, of the researchers and pharmaceutical companies who have accessed either de-identifiable data or have had CoRDS contact participants on their behalf for a clinical trial or study. So you can see this list is relatively long. And like I said, this isn't even all of the researchers and pharmaceutical companies who have utilized CoRDS. So to wrap up here, rare disease registries are crucial to help advance research. Information from the CoRDS registry enables scientists to steer their research in the direction of novel discoveries. CoRDS is 100% free of charge for all participants and advocacy groups and researchers. Patients, advocacy groups, researchers are all brought to one location to combine their strengths. And if you are a listener of podcasts, we do have a rare disease podcast called CoRDScast. You can go to our website and find it and listen to all the episodes there. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. If you have further questions or would like to meet offline, please feel free to email me. My email is right there, alyssa.mendel@sanfordhealth.org, or you can email the CoRDS team, and we'd all be happy to speak with you. Thank you.